Searching for this all my life. You're just my type. I've been looking for a boy who can treat me right. Your dark hair, but those eyes so bright.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Scheananigans. I'm here solo in the studio this week and just feeling all of the love that you guys have given me just by pre-ordering the book, commenting about the book. It's been a really great weekend. So just wanted to say thank you for that. Writing this book and just putting it all out there has definitely been scary at times. The book isn't even out yet, and I'm terrified, but also very excited and very proud of everything I did. So I can't wait to share it with you this summer. If you have not pre-ordered it yet, you can go to mygoodsidebook.com, get your order in. There are signed copies on Barnes & Noble, a limited amount of them, also on Premiere. So check that out. So many questions were sent in, mostly about the book. So I want to just dive right in. What's your book about? Well, it is a memoir. So it is about my entire life. You're going to get childhood Scheana, high school Scheana, college, Hollywood. You find out more about my family. You get some BTS, VPR. I really do spill it all, which is terrifying, but I felt like if I'm going to write a book, I've always prided myself on being an open book myself. So nothing was off the table with this book. When did you start writing the book and how long did it take you to write it? So I began writing the proposal and mapping out the book last spring, almost a year ago. Met with editors this summer and then began the writing process end of summer, and fall was just like full time. We didn't have that much time because we had a deadline. So it went really quick, turned in the manuscript this month. And now, yeah, it's done. It is out there. I finished it and excited, but also a little scared. Can you share what the writing process was like for you and what was the hardest thing about writing your book? I think revisiting old memories that I had compartmentalized was definitely a challenge. There were things where I'm like, I forgot about this, but then being asked the right questions kind of triggered certain memories. So that was hard. But overall, the writing process, I think it was very therapeutic. It felt good to put what I learned in school and college. I mean, I have been a writer my whole life, and to be able to put that into actual work outside of an essay or a final project in school was really fun. So I hope you guys enjoy it because, yeah, next question. Does your book cover all years of life until now, or what years? All of them. And I felt like with the photo part of it, I'm like, how do I pick which photos when I have 39 years of life, but there will be less than 39 photos? So that was a bit challenging, but we really do cover it all. Hollywood life is included in the book. You guys want to know how much? I picked the most important parts of it because honestly, if I included all of Hollywood in the book, it would just be its own book. I mean, that was 5 full single years of my life. So I definitely took the biggest highlights from those chunks. The people I'm sure you want to hear about, I definitely talk about. And yeah. Will this book include your birthing experience with preeclampsia? Yes, I talk about all of that, all of the struggles I went through, all of the OCD before I knew that I had OCD, before I was diagnosed, all of that. And I really hope by putting all of that out there that helps other women understand if they are struggling with postpartum OCD, to get help and to know all of the tools that are out there that I've been using to help me. Mainly outside of medication is exposure therapy. I talk about that as well. So all of that is also in the book. What was your favorite part about writing the book and what were the challenges? Favorite part? Honestly, I really enjoyed going through old photos to put stories together for the book, and just looking back on my childhood. There are the years of my childhood that were really hard to go back to some of those memories, like middle school, worst years of my life, but also looking back with my friends who I've known since kindergarten and still talk to this day. Like, that was really fun to just get to go back and relive some of those moments and things I forgot about. Like in college, I'm going through these photos and I'm like, oh my God, we have to put that in the book. This needs to be in the book. So I think that was definitely the most fun part. What topic or personal relationship was hardest to write about? I'm not going to say that now, but I think it will be very apparent when you read the book. What is your scariest chapter to release? Again, this will probably be very obvious when you read the book. There were things I went back and forth with. I'm like, do I put it all out there? Do I put everything in the book? Because one day my daughter is going to read this book, and I struggled with it. But at the end of the day, I was like, you know what? I would be doing a disservice to myself and to everyone who's reading it if I didn't put it all out there. If I skipped a literal chapter of my life, then figuratively, literally, just all of it, I needed to put it all in the book. And like I had said last week on the podcast, my final acknowledgement in the book is to my daughter. And I hope that, if she reads it one day, that she's proud of me for putting it all out there and just knowing that me sharing my story, our story, can help other people. Did writing your book bring up forgotten past traumas? And if so, how did you deal with that? Definitely did. Still in therapy, so still dealing with those things. Will you be recording an audiobook version? Yes, I will be doing that myself because I think it would be really weird to have someone else's voice reading my story. So I will be recording that myself. I haven't done it yet. Got to make sure my voice is in tip-top shape. It is not after Brittany's birthday this weekend, but we'll get it back before we do the audiobook. Will you be releasing signed copies through bookstores? And what about a book tour? Absolutely doing a book tour. That's not scheduled yet, so I don't know exactly what cities or where I'm going to be, but there will be signed copies, obviously, at the book tour. And like I said, Barnes & Noble and Premiere. But like I mentioned earlier, there are limited copies available for that. So I would order those sooner rather than later, assuming there still are some. I'm not sure, but get your orders in. Will your book be available in the UK? As of right now, you should be able to get it in the UK via Amazon or Premiere. I know my sister-in-law, when she was checking in Australia, she had to get it through Amazon US. So yeah, it should be available anywhere if you have Amazon, or Premiere I know is worldwide. So you should be able to get it anywhere. It just might not be delivered on July 22nd. I think it said it would take like a week extra to get to Australia. So just be aware of that. Will you do an Australian book tour? Speaking of, not planned at the moment, but would definitely be fun. I would love to do a full tour of Australia with the music, with the podcast, with the book. So that might not be a specific book tour because I would like to have more into that and make it a full show. So stay tuned on that. You guys will definitely hear it here first when and if we plan that, because I would love to do that. When can we pre-order? Now, mygoodsidebook.com. Is there a reason behind choosing? I saw this so much online, and I don't know why it bothers everyone else more than it bothers my ex-husband or current husband. But is there a reason behind choosing to use your ex's last name on the cover? Why did you keep your ex-husband's name? Will you ever change your last name back? So I don't know how many times I'm going to have to address this, but no matter how many times I do, I feel like it's still probably one of the things people ask about the most. I have built a professional career as Scheana Shay. Doing the show in Las Vegas, having to decide what name to put on the billboard, I felt like that was even another level of it. It was like, do I go back to Scheana Marie? I tried. It wasn't really sticking. Vegas really wanted Scheana Shay on the billboard. That was the name I was going by professionally. At summer school, in my personal life, on our Seesaw app, I am Scheana Davies. I am Mrs. Davies. And at this point, I don't see changing my name professionally. I thought about it when we got divorced, going back to my maiden name, but then I'm like, if I get remarried, which, hello, I did, changing it again. And it is a bitch of a process, and not just social security, passport, driver's license. I mean, my businesses, my retirement, my will, my trust, my houses, my everything is tied up in this name. So, if I could go back in time, I don't know, maybe I would have never even changed my name to Scheana Shay professionally, because then I'm altering my professional name around a man who I'm obviously no longer with. But I was young. I believed in forever. And the prospect of divorce wasn't even on my mind. I took my vows seriously, for better or worse. And I don't know. I also feel like, unfortunately, this is something that only women in the workforce have to deal with, which is annoying, and then when we change it after divorce, it's like we lose some of our professional credentials and brand recognition, and also are signaling that we've been unsuccessful in our personal lives. So I don't know. I just, having to essentially do like a coming out as a divorcee, and it's like, I'm no longer Scheana Shay. I'm now Scheana Jankin again. It just, I don't know. It wasn't for me. And I know a lot of people also say like, well, you didn't have kids with your ex-husband, so why are you keeping his name? And you know what? I'm not the only one. Demi Moore, Susan Sarandon, and then there are the other people professionally like Tina Turner. I mean, Ike clearly wasn't the best, but she kept his name. So a lot of people do it. We keep our names as they're part of our brand in this industry. And Scheana Shay just stuck. So it is what it is. And women are already coming into the workforce, at a disadvantage, and changing your name every time you have a relationship update. It's just a further disadvantage. And frankly, there are much bigger things we should be concerned about than a name. So let's not make it harder for one another out there. And it genuinely does not bother Brock that I use this name. And also, I did recently have lunch with Shay, and I asked him point blank, and it does not bother him either. So if it doesn't bother the ex-husband, it doesn't bother the current husband. Again, I don't know why it bothers all of you. And I feel like, too, one last thing I'll say about this with the whole name thing, it's not just women in the industry, famous women and whatnot who have to deal with this or struggle with it. There are probably women right now listening to this podcast who struggle with the same thing. It doesn't bother me. Whatever you guys say, like, how could you use his name? So it doesn't bother me. But there are probably so many other women out there who struggle with this. Maybe they got a degree under their ex's name or this huge accomplishment, and they don't want to go away from that name professionally, personally. There's so many reasons, but also it's not your name. So I don't know why it bothers you. And that's all I'll say on that. So on that note, I'm going to take a quick little water break because I get quite winded when I'm sitting here talking to myself for these episodes. And I'll be right back because y'all sent in so many questions. Be right back. All right, y'all. Are you ready to optimize your nutrition this year? Because if you are, like myself, then Factor is your go-to. They have chef-made gourmet meals that make eating well so easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. You chuck it in the microwave and it is there, ready to go. It makes eating at home so easy. You don't have to cook. There's no mess. There's no prep. You just heat it up. So you can fuel right and feel great no matter what life throws at you. Factor arrives fresh, and like I said, they are fully prepared. They are perfect for any active, busy lifestyle like myself. I'm constantly on the go during the days, and I just don't have time to cook for myself at home. Also, they have 40 options across 8 dietary preferences on the menu each week. So it's easy to pick meals tailored to your goals. If you want to be calorie smart, protein plus, keto, etc., vegetarian, they've got all of the things. And Factor can help you feel your best all day long with these really, really good, wholesome smoothies. I love starting my days with one of the smoothies. They have grab and go snacks, more add-ons. literally so bomb. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/goodasgold50 off and use code goodasgold50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code goodasgold50 off at factormeals.com/goodasgold50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. And we're back. Okay. So many book questions, which thank you guys. I love how interested everyone is in the content of what's going to be in the book. So questions about my background. Do you have any desire to meet your real father? Do you talk about your bio dad in the book? Does your book talk about your dad or your Latin heritage? I mean, my real father is the man who raised me. That's the man I call dad. My biological father, yes, I do address that in the book. And also there's more with my last name and why I had the last name Jankin growing up. So you do get more of that background. I do talk about growing up Hispanic and also just how that affected me in junior high, being half white, half Mexican, but having the white last name. And so you do get a lot of that in the book. How does Shay feel about the book? He was actually very excited. We went and got lunch last week. I wanted to tell him about it in person. I didn't want him to find out about it online. I was very honest. I told him that I do speak about our relationship, and he was like, you know what? It's your book. I don't care. It's your story. And he was genuinely happy for me. He's known me since I was 15 years old, and he knew that this is always something I wanted to do. So he was very happy. I told him that I'll give him a copy of it ahead of time so he's not blindsided by anything. And who knows, maybe one day we'll be sitting in this room discussing it together. We'll see. How do you think your VPR castmates will react to what you wrote in your book about them? Just to be clear, this isn't a VPR tell-all. I mean, we do tell a lot, but this book encompasses my full life. And VPR has been a huge part of my life, especially my adult life, my professional life. And it is a part of the book, just as it's a part of my life. But you'll see a lot more of my world beyond just Vanderpump Rules in this book, also including my days at Villa Blanca, before cameras ever picked up for Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. I really do go back and discuss it all. Were there any topics, stories off limits while writing your book? No, actually. I had to talk to my mom about this. I'm like, look, I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. I had to talk to my husband about it. I'm going to say this. I'm going to say that. And everyone respected the fact that it is my story and it's my book. My mom is the only person outside of my team who has read it front to back. And she said that it was a really well-written book and she's really proud of me and there's nothing in it that she would have changed. So having that stamp of approval was a big one. And now everyone else has to read it. So I hope they feel the same. Was there anything you were nervous to write about in your book? That is a big, fat, in all capitals, yes. Is there anyone you think will be unhappy about any topics in your book? Probably. Not going to lie. I don't think every single person who's named in this book is going to be happy. However, it is my truth, and I tried to be as raw and vulnerable and fair and open and honest as possible. And like with the stuff I wrote about Shay, I told him at lunch last week, I said, it's not all bad. I'm not bashing you. I tried to be fair, but I also needed to go more in detail of some stories, but also, with where I know he's at in his life right now, I acknowledge that. And I like I said, I tried to be very fair with how I worded things. I went back, I rewrote things over and over and over. And I'm like, no, we got to say this and I have to change this one word. And I was very particular. So I hope, now that the final manuscript is completely turned in, I just hope I made the right decisions in how I tried to be very particular with how I worded things, because I'm not trying to lose friendships, relationships, or anything over this. I just am trying to be the most authentic version of myself that you haven't always seen on the show. Did you give an advance copy of your book to those depicted in it? How were those combos? No, not yet. Only my mom so far. There will be several conversations I have to have before it's released. I actually just had one with Lala this weekend, letting her know something that I wrote about in the book that she didn't know about yet. And there are going to be a lot more of those I have to have. Got to talk to my dad. Got to talk to Aunt D. I'm going to tell them which chapters to skip. You know, maybe they don't need to read the Hollywood chapter. There are a few chapters that I would like some people to skip, but mainly my close family. So, yeah. Has anyone read your book yet? Well, like I said, just my team, myself, my editor, and my mom. What's one thing you weren't prepared for when writing your book? Ooh, that's a good question. I don't know. I mean, I feel like I prepared quite well. I knew it was going to be a lot of time, a lot of late nights. I feel like I do my best work creatively when I'm just alone in my house. Usually when my daughter's asleep at, 9, 10 p.m., I would sit on the couch and go through the edits and make edits. And also when my daughter was at school, I got a lot of work done. But I don't know. I felt like with the writing process, which I do acknowledge in the book, you'll understand a bit of things that were unplanned and things that I couldn't have really prepared for, but I didn't know about it until I was in it. And then it was like, okay, well, now what do we do? What are you hoping to convey to your readers the most with your book? I'm honestly just hoping to be more understood because I feel like that has been a huge part of my identity. I've always felt very misunderstood in this. So I'm hoping that the readers just understand me a little more. You read this book, you still don't like me, totally okay. But I want you to not like me for all of me, not just the bad side of me necessarily. How did you settle on a book cover? Are there any alt covers? So actually, yes, this cover was not the original cover I pictured. This was the backup option. After we shot, which if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see, this is just a mock-up of the book. I'm sure there will be some writing and stuff on it. But originally, this was going to be the front cover. I was going to have my good side here, my name down here. And this is just how I saw my book. And then when we shot these as just options, we did this in 2 different style dresses, which if you saw my Patreon, you get a whole behind the scenes of the full photo shoot. But after we did those 2 dresses, I was like, you know what? Like, we're good. We got the cover. We were all so happy. And we're like, well, we have so much time. You're in hair and makeup. Let's shoot some more and do the other options that we had. And then we came up with this. And then we had the idea of putting a different expression in the mirror because it's like the side of me you've seen, the side of me you're going to see in the book, and just how with the show, I feel like sometimes you've only gotten one side of me. So we felt that this was a much more compelling cover, and I'm really, really happy with it. Maureen and Laura crushed it on the glam. Corey, amazing with the photography he shot, and yeah, very happy about it. When and how did you realize you had a good side? Honestly, after doing seasons of reality TV, I remember my interview camera used to be on the right side. And when I watched the show back, I was just like, why do I look better sometimes? And this is just me in my head thinking this. Other people are like, we don't notice. But I'm like, why in some scenes do I look better? And in some, it was like my lip on the right side was thinner. And from the interview camera, it looked weird. So, of course, what did I do? Like season 2, 3, I got filler in my lips. I realized that my hairline goes back further on the right side. And the Botox, it was just a whole thing, which now it's funny too. When I was going through old photos and college photos, so many of them are on my right side. And when people say I've had so much plastic surgery, I'm like, no, I've learned my angles. I used to smile a lot with my head down and on the right side. And if I smile now with a little bit of a tilt from my left, I do look like I've had a nose job. I totally understand why people think that. I haven't. I just got better with my makeup. The cameras have gotten better. The lighting's gotten better. And after doing reality TV, you will learn everything wrong about your looks because if you don't notice it, someone else will notice it for you. Did you ask Stassi for advice on the writing process? No, I literally didn't talk to anyone about the writing process. I didn't even tell most of my friends until this fall that I was even writing a book. When I went to New York this summer and met with publishers, literally my friend Nima in New York was the only one who knew what I was doing because we were like getting lunch and I had these meetings. He's like, what are the meetings for? I did not tell anyone because I wasn't sure the book was going to sell. I wasn't sure even when it sold, if it was going to be able to fully be written in time with the deadline. And so up until a few months ago, most people in my life outside of my immediate family and my team obviously didn't even know I was writing a book. So I also, another main reason is I didn't want any outside influence. This is a different style book than some of my other friends on the show have written, but this is a full memoir. And I didn't want to have people in my ear telling me like, oh, you should write about this. Don't talk about this. And just influencing me. As we've seen on many years of Vanderpump Rules, I can be easily influenced at times. So with this book and, you know, when it comes to the book tour and all, I might be making some calls for advice on that. Stassi would be call number one. Lala, when her book came out, didn't get to do a real book tour. Hers was kind of COVID times and mostly virtual. Same with Kristen. But yeah, I'll probably ask some of the housewives and Stassi if they have any advice when it comes to that part of it. Do you want to continue down the book writing route? Ask me again after I get this book out. But I definitely loved the creative aspects of this process. And if I had the right idea for a future book, which I do have a couple ideas, then yeah, we'll see. But we got to sell this one first. So if you haven't already, go pre-order it, mygoodsidebook.com. What is your biggest takeaway from the ending of VPR? That, you know what? We had a good run. We had a great run. I mean, 11 seasons on the same show it's amazing. It's such an accomplishment in itself, but it's opened up the door to so many other opportunities. And I felt like the more and more I think about it, it felt right. It felt like the right time and was a bit of a relief, if I'm being honest, that I no longer have to film with some of these men and people who I don't really talk to that much anymore. You know, it felt like it was time to move on. If there's one thing you'd redo when it came to VPR, what would it be? I think honestly, standing my ground more and speaking my truth and my feelings and not worrying about necessarily hurting other people's feelings or what the audience is going to think or what Lisa Vanderpump wants me to do or say, and just being my own person and being confident in my own decisions, because that is one thing. I can blame the OCD all day long, but that's one thing I struggle with, especially as a mom, is being confident in my decisions and just having that conviction, feeling like, no, I know I made the right decision. I wish I had a little more of that, but hopefully, you know, you'll get more of that moving forward. What advice would you give to season 1 Scheana? Honestly, the same thing I just said, to just stand your ground and not to be afraid of the repercussions or what other people think, just to do what you feel is best. Because looking back, there were so many times where I wanted to speak up more and I felt like I did. Like, for example, when Lala joined the show, I kind of got into the mix with the Witches of WeHo of like, well, this girl is this and she shouldn't be on the show and like da-da-da-da-da. But then I also had the moment where, if you saw the TikTok that I posted with Katie, that fight, season 5 at Shay's birthday party, I was standing up for Lala because finally I was just like, I like her. And they did not like that I was going against the grain. So as much as I did do that at times, I just wish I did it more. And I would have told season 1 Scheana to just always stand up for what she believes in and to not let anyone else influence her decisions. Okay, on that note, I'm going to take one more break and get some more water, and I'll be right back. One thing I've talked about on this podcast before is Noom. So for those of you who are trying to lose weight right now, I know that most weight loss plans are a one size fits all, but that's the problem because they're not taking into account each person's individual needs. And Noom builds personal plans that can meet your individual needs. They take into account dietary restrictions, any medical issues that you may have, and other personal needs. And then they build a plan that works for you. It's tailored to you. It's built for your psychology and your biology, and it's going to be meeting you exactly where you're at. Because Noom understands that not everyone is starting from the same place, and they take that into account. Noom weight also uses psychology, and that's why they say losing weight starts with your brain. But it also takes into account your unique biological factors, which also affect weight loss success. Noom helps you build new habits for a healthier lifestyle. And to date, they have helped more than 5.2 million people lose weight. Everyone's journey is different. So your daily lessons are going to be personalized to you and your goals. If you're having cravings, food FOMO, Noom can help you lose weight while still enjoying your favorite foods. Stay focused on what's important to you with Noom's psychology and biology-based approach. Sign up for your trial today at Noom.com. All right, more questions. Thoughts on James and Allie breaking up? Look, I'm very proud of Allie for her strength. It is never easy to leave a relationship, even if it feels like this is the right decision. It's still hard. You know, they were building a life together, lived together, and it was a lot. So I wish them both healing and peace as they now navigate, living separately. And yeah, I'm very, very proud of her because I know it wasn't easy. How was Brittany's birthday party? Any awkward interactions, or did everyone play nice, especially after what Kristen said about you and Lala on the Hot Mic podcast? Brittany's birthday party was so fun. We did have a seating chart. So per usual, I was in the middle. So was Brittany. And then, we had some people on one side, some people on another side. Mostly the people who didn't want to be around each other, avoided each other, didn't take photos with each other. So I don't know that it was necessarily awkward. After you watch next season, I can go back to the birthday party because the only thing that was awkward wouldn't even make sense to you right now if I tried to explain it. So we can come back to that. But as far as Kristen, I think she said I self-victimized. I mean, I think probably almost all of us have been guilty of that. I didn't really take offense to that. I did speak to Kristen, and yeah, the party overall, really fun. How do you feel about Stassi getting her own Hulu show? I feel like it's about fucking time, I mean, she has been missed from our screens. So I'm really happy for her. I think that this is the best route. She has another incredible book, and yeah, I'm excited to watch. Does it bother you that you will promote and support your friends, but they don't do it for you? See, that's the thing. I do and I don't agree with this. I do think my friends support me. I think it looks differently with certain people. I feel like I will always ride hard for my friends and support them, and that isn't conditioned. I think a lot of the time, fans, people who follow me, can make certain assessments based off of social media activity only, but not all of my friends have the same social media behavior, presence, whatever as me. And, just because maybe someone isn't commenting doesn't mean they're not texting me in support. Do I post more than some when they have something I'm proud of? Probably. But, I don't expect everyone to post to pre-order my book. I got some comments, I got a lot of texts, and that in itself is support. And, buying the book, don't post it, just buy it. Like, that's enough support. So I feel like there are different ways of showing it. And it's not always a social media promotion. Just because that's what I do, everyone doesn't have to do it. And everyone has different love languages, different ways of showing up for each other. So for some, it is through posting and commenting, and for others, it's different, and giving each other ideas, encouragement, maybe thoughtful gestures. Like I got some flowers sent to me. I had the sweetest handwritten card from Logan Cochran when I went to Tom Tom this weekend for brunch. That itself like meant so much to me. Like the handwritten cards are so meaningful. And Allie did that as well for me, brought me flowers and a handwritten card. And, I'm like, did they comment? Did they post? I don't know. It doesn't matter. Those things matter to me. So, just because the general public doesn't see something doesn't mean it isn't there. I just want to say that. Have you started planning Summer's birthday? What can you tell us? Yeah, I have. I can tell you that it's going to be not just one, but two parties, because now that she's in school, you obviously can't just invite one kid. You have to invite the entire class, unless you do a gender specific party where you just have like the girls go to the Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique or whatever. But then if I do a girl party, then I'm excluding Brittany, I'm excluding Janet, I'm excluding my friends who have sons, and I don't believe in that. So because there are 26 kids total in Summer's class, not every day, just in their grade, there are 26 total. I'm like, well, on top of, Janet, Stassi, all my cousins, all of my other friends, that's too many at one party. So we're doing two. We're going to do an after school party at our local putt-putt, as Summer calls it, some mini golf, arcades, cake, ice cream, chicken fingers, pizza, I don't know. And then the second one will be the typical party at my Aunt Dee's house with the bounce house. I think we're going to make it a pool party. I already have a lifeguard ready to go. And we haven't figured out the themes yet, but that one for our family and friends back home, like my high school friends and everyone else, we're doing that. So two parties. And yeah, I just feel like the older these kids get, the more expensive the parties get. But I will do anything for that kid. And yeah, I'm excited. How did the fires affect Summer with her being so young? So I showed her stuff on Instagram. I talked to her about what was happening. Obviously, she donated so much of her own stuff, which just warmed my heart, watching her go through toys and asking me like, Mommy, was this from when I was one? Like, I want to give this to the kids. And it was just really sweet to see her heart at such a young age. And I don't know if she fully comprehended, like, no, there were kids that lived in this home and now this home is burned to the ground. I wasn't showing her that stuff necessarily, but she was looking on the Watch Duty app and she's like, oh, that's the fire. And I was like, yeah, but we live right here. So I was trying to give her some perspective, but I also didn't want to scare her too much. And the school was really great. They sent us different ways to speak to our kids about the wildfires and whatnot. Is Brock still training for the half Ironman, or has the air quality changed that? No, he's still training. He just got his bike, so he's starting that process of it. He's still been swimming. He just ran 13 miles this weekend in the rain in Hermosa Beach. Insane. But no, he's doing it. We're going to Puerto Rico in March. Do you think you are in your forever home? I thought that until my car got stolen, and now I'm not so sure. Although I did tell the cats when we moved into that home, this is where you'll die. They've moved so much with me over the 10 to 16 years almost that I've had each of them. But also, one day I would like one of those massive closets that's like the size of a bedroom. So I don't know if this is my forever home, but it's for a long time home. I love our home. The car, it kind of threw me off. Any update on the relationship between your mom and Brock, and any insight as to why she still doesn't like him? My mom loves him. She may not always like him. They are both two strong personalities, but they love each other. And I discuss this in the book as well, but they're good. I think the holidays was a lot for both of them. It was a lot of 24/7 time together in the house, the hotel, and now we're kind of back to doing our thing. Interesting. Okay, this next question. Have you tried Lexapro? It really helped me with similar issues. Zoloft made me so tired. A lot of people have said that about the Zoloft. I think I convinced myself last year, or I guess 2023, when I first got on it, that it was making me tired. I also think I just was tired having a kid who wasn't sleeping through the night and all of that. I did try Lexapro in my early 20s. It was not for me personally. Lexapro made me completely emotionless. I remember being like 23 years old, visiting my uncle in the hospital, and he was literally dying in front of my eyes, and I couldn't shed a tear. And in that moment, I'm like, I don't want to be this numb to pain and emotion. And I remember flushing them all down the toilet, and I swore off medication until I got on Wellbutrin years later for anxiety. Then I stopped that when I was pregnant. Now I'm on Zoloft. And this honestly feels like the best one that I've been on. I busted my face and have discoloration in one of my front teeth. How did you deal with this? Oh my God. I am so sorry. I dealt with it with like 5 surgeries. I think it was like $33,000 of surgeries. It was insane. Ended up having to pull one, get a bridge, veneers. It was a whole thing, but maybe an implant or veneers would work because that's what I had to do. If you only have 1 hour a month for beauty treatments, what do you advise getting? Facial. The face card, you never want that to decline. Keep it hydrated. Always a good hydrating facial. What has helped the most with your OCD? Exposure therapy really has been great because exposing myself to the things I'm afraid of definitely helps me understand that I can take them on. Let's say The Amazing Race called. Who would you go on that show with? I would say, hi, I'm going to put you in touch with Brock and my sister, and I'm going to bow out and watch it because I think they would be an incredible team on it. As much as I can be a daredevil, I am so picky about food. I could not eat any of that shit. Anything where I'm submerged in water, no thank you. So I don't know that The Amazing Race would be for me. Would you ever consider having your own talk show on TV? Honestly, yeah, I would love to do more hosting one day. When I was in college, I thought I would be a news reporter or host like a daytime talk show or something like that. I think that would be fun. But I don't know that I would want it to be a solo show. I really like how like The View, The Real, The Talk, those type of shows where it's an ensemble cast and you can bounce off each other because it's a lot to carry just on your own. But I could see myself thriving in that sort of hot topics format. Would you do a spinoff show with Brock and Lala? Look, our little mixed family could be a cute show. We've talked about doing that maybe for YouTube. But like especially our moms, I don't know if they'd ever agree in that capacity, but they're best friends. We're all best friends. The families are so combined at this point, although there's like no plans or discussions for that. So maybe you'll see that dynamic in other formats, in the future. What's the biggest movie or TV role you've ever auditioned for? Any big roles that you almost got? Hot Tub Time Machine. I remember getting a call back for that for the girl who played opposite John Cusack in the flashbacks, obviously like in the 80s. That was a big one. I auditioned for a part on Role Models where it's like the teacher with Sean William Scott. She takes him in the room. Crazy Stupid Love. I auditioned for that one. I remember it was the part with this girl. She's giving advice to the one who wants to take like the sexy photos. And she's like, oh, my lips are sealed. And she's like, "Arr," and she's like doing the otter sound. And I had to do that in the audition. It was embarrassing, but funny. There were a lot of big films that I auditioned for back in the day. And I would get callbacks so often and then just like not book the role. But they're always like, oh, I think we're going to go blonde for this, or you're great and we'll use you for something else. Any hints of fun upcoming projects you're working on? Soon, yes, I will have more hints. Who do you want to win the Super Bowl, Chiefs or Eagles? As much as I love me some Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce, I'm going for the Eagles. I think it would be dope to see the Chiefs get a three-peat, but Brock's good friend is one of the coaches for the Eagles, and we have been rooting for them all season. The Chiefs are not only the best team in our division, it's like they're the best team in the fucking league. And, I get it. Like, Mahomes is GOAT. And if I did fantasy football, he would be my quarterback. But I'm going Eagles. Gotta support the Eagles. Last question. I just moved to Glendora and wanted to ask, what's your favorite restaurant in Azusa? La Tolteca. Always and forever. And now it's that time of day for the Jack's Hole. I was really struggling with that this week. But watching the Traders last night, like, I love my girl Gabby, and the Bambis, though, I got to say, both of them going against their fellow Bambi. And I think the way that Chriselle was so emotional with saying that she felt Nikki was a traitor, it really did convince the room. And they went against their girl and she got sent home and she was a faithful. And I felt really bad for her. And to the traders who keep knocking off my Bravo girls, you better not come for Dolores. I'm telling you, if I was in there, oh, yeah. But anyways, that's me for the week. Thank you all for listening. Again, if you haven't pre-ordered yet, you can go to mygoodsidebook.com. Again, there is a limited number of signed editions available via Barnes & Noble and Premiere. So get those orders in now so you can reserve a signed copy. And I will see you all back here next week. Bye.
I've been searching for this all my